Welcome to Decades, hosted by Chris Rubio. Decades is a show made up of 5 generations of people brought together to discuss topics you wouldn't normally talk about with others. The goal of the show is to learn by having some good, possibly heated discussions, without losing the simple fact that it's okay to talk to different people with different opinions other than your own.
What is up? My name is Chris Rubio. Welcome to Decades. Like you just heard, this is episode 24. We've got Memepalooza. Before we bring out the entire panel, I wanted to tell you, do not forget, mark this date down on your calendar, December 11th. December 11th, that is when the NGBN.TV app is coming out on Roku, Amazon Fire. All those can be streamed live over every single thing. So December 11th, NGBN.TV. Their app is going to be out December 11th. Do not forget that. Ed, Sub 60 Ed, my man, lighter gaffer, Rubio handler. What is going on?
I think handler is probably the most appropriate term for me with, all the stuff that you do. Full-time job. Hey, I'd like to shout out about December 11th. Can I piggyback off that? Reminder to everybody that we are now on Roku, Amazon, and we'll be coming out to other services as well. Make sure you tell your friends, family, go out there. We want to see this show climbing up the charts on Spotify, etc. So our decades, we're going to call them the decade diehards. Let's get the word out.
All right. Speaking of diehards, we'll go most mature to youngest, or least mature. So representing our 60s, we've got 2. We're going to start with Judge Jay Gaskell, otherwise known as the Judge. He's an Idaho native, Seahawks fan, go Hawks, retired district court judge, and he allegedly makes the best old-fashioned in the Northwest. What is up, Judge?
Not allegedly. It's true.
Next up from the free state of Florida, we've got Bill. Internet holds up. Yeah, we hope as well. Next, we've got representing 60s as well, Bill Geyser. He's one of the best swimmers around, lives in Florida. He's an entrepreneur, wearable tech guru, and like I already said, a phenomenal swimmer. What's up, Bill Geyser?
I would like to make just a small correction. We're not mature. We're not the oldest. We're the most experienced.
I will write that down. I will get that down. And it's good to see you and the Judge agreeing on something right out of the gate. Next up,
things make us sick.
Next up, representing our 50s, we've got Alex Chris, originally from the Ukraine, grew up in the USSR, lives in Los Angeles. He's a beer connoisseur, and like we said before, he heads up the Los Angeles-based Charlie Sheen fan club. What's up, Gru?
Greetings from California. We still have summer, but it's cooler.
Okay. Next up, representing our 20s, we've got Charles Wallace Jr. We call him Chalice. He's a 2-time wiffle ball champion, loves AI blondes and bikinis, loves gambling. He hosts a show on the NGBN.TV network, From Gridirons to Goalposts. What's up, Chalice?
What's up, guys? Pleasure to be here.
Fantastic. All right, let's start off with some quick email questions. We'll start with Charles Wallace. Charles Wallace Jr., how was the show, Gridiron to Goalposts, coming along?
Oh, it's going great. 3 weeks in, been profitable every week. So, if you tout us every week, you can get the missus some nice Broadway tickets, keep her out of your hair while you're with your girlfriend.
All right. Second email question. And remember, you can send these email questions into ngbntved@gmail.com or rubio@therubiomethod.com. This one goes for the Judge. Judge, what was the best, past tense, what was the best and worst part about being a judge?
Best part is thinking that maybe you can help people along the way. The worst part is realizing in some situations that's just not possible.
I thought you would have said, since you were up on that little podium, it was being actually taller than people at some point in your life.
Sub 60 and I take affront at that.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. We've got Memepalooza. Let's start with the judges before his internet goes out.
Yeah.
Believing in facts and science does not make you, put it up one more time, sub 60, in case we have someone listening on Spotify. Judges says, believing in facts and science does not make you a liberal, it makes you literate. Good one, Judge. All right, Judge, you want to clarify that for us, or do you think that's pretty self-explanatory?
Well, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. All of the things you see on all social media now is not based on facts. Not some of it, but not most of it. It's based on present sense impressions that may or may not be based on facts. And I just don't think there's any research into most of what we get off social media anymore.
All right. Charles Wallace, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think believing in facts and science makes you a conservative, if anything.
Okay, in what way?
What was that?
In what way?
Facts and science, I mean, we've touched on it before on the show. Like, if you're a liberal, not in all cases, but in a lot of cases, if you're a liberal in 2023, you believe that men can be women. You believe that women can be men. You believe that up is down and down is up, things like that.
Okay. So, Ed, can you pull it up for me one more time? I just want to see it one more time. Judge, on the second part, believe in facts and science. What would you argue the case where someone says, okay, which scientists can I listen to? So if there's 100 scientists and you show me 100 scientists that say bald is beautiful, and then you show me 100 scientists that say white hair is beautiful, which one am I allowed to listen to? What's your response to that?
To those things, they could both be true.
Okay, but so,
I think I tend to go with the consensus and the people that have the scientific method that backs up their conclusions.
Okay, but if someone has a scientific method that backs up the opposite conclusion, would you go with that?
Sure, I would.
Okay. Bill, what's your thoughts on this?
I agree with that. I think if you follow the facts and follow the science, it makes you literate. But if you follow the facts, follow the science, and follow the money, that makes you a liberal.
Yeah, I think that
sounds like a conservative to
You're
me.
working with me there?
I
Take
think
a look at defense. Take a look at education. Take a look at pharma. These are all the Ukraine. These things are all massive money things, and I think we used to have a word for this called money laundering, and that's what makes you liberal.
Well, do you think arms dealers are liberal?
Oh, they're the biggest capitalists that benefit, but they're also paying the liberals. So that's part of the cabal.
Yeah.
Well, I think that the whole money issue is a good one to bring up, because just recently FDA just came out and said there's a key ingredient in Sudafed, Robitussin, and Benadryl that now they're saying does not work, and it hasn't worked. So the immediate question is, okay, if it doesn't work, how long have you known it has not worked? And then you could put your conspiracy theory hat on and say, okay, all of a sudden it doesn't work now, but then are they going to make that Benadryl, Sudafed, and Robitussin available, but now you have to go into the doctor to get it? So now that they're controlling it even more because you had this great, I've got this runny nose, I'm going to go get Sudafed. I don't even know what these medicines are for. But you have to go into your local grocery store and get it, but now you no longer can spend $18 on a box of Benadryl. You have to go into the doctors. I mean, so there's two questions, I guess, on that one. How long has the FDA known about this? And is this just another money snake going around? Guru, what do you think about that?
Actually, I was watching some stuff on Netflix about Oxycontin and how it got approved by FDA. Actually, they eventually sort of like a bribed the doctor at the FDA, who eventually started to work for that Purdue Pharmaceuticals, okay, that was manufacturing Oxycontin, okay. That's how it got approved.
Yeah, there's a couple of Netflix dramas right now, or documentaries where it follows the big pharma, and it's disturbing to say the least. If you have not watched a couple of them, I think one of them's like Pushers. I can't remember what their names are.
Yeah, it's called Painkillers. The one.
Painkillers. Yeah, there's one, and it's really, really disturbing how you see like the head of the FDA all of a sudden, as soon as they retire, they immediately go on a board for one of the big pharma companies. And there's got to be, I don't know what the term is, but a separation of church and state on this. I mean, that's a wild one. Dallas, you kind of nod your head a little.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything that you guys have been saying. Everything that you guys have been saying about that. I was just kind of pondering over here a little bit more about the facts and the science of the meme, and I don't want to keep going at it from the issue of the men being women thing, but another thing we touched on last week a little bit was COVID. where there's really no science behind 5 feet's a death sentence, 6 feet, you're perfectly fine. We know that the mask didn't work, but we had to wear them anyway. So it just is, again, just another pile on of where if you're a liberal and if you're going with these liberal ideals in 2023, you're veering further and further away from logic and from science.
Well, when they said, when literally, what was it? I think it was 100 doctors or scientists signed that petition that's saying protesting is okay to be out. You can risk the COVID for that.
Yeah.
I mean, I just didn't understand how anyone could look at that and say, okay, I get it. That's good. Or, that just doesn't make sense to me. Go ahead, Bill.
Well, I think if you just look at the economics, you take a look at like COVID, who benefited economically during the COVID crisis? Big pharma, government officials, and small business people in America got wiped out.
Yeah.
I mean, big regulation. These regulation are sold to us on the basis of helping society, but they never do. Society usually takes a big step backwards and somebody profits with it. Now we've got the Ukraine. We've got hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars going to the Ukraine. Who's benefiting economically there? Sure not us.
Well, and it all comes back around to like one big circle. It's almost like cyclical, where Zelensky's in Washington, I think, right now. And today he was yelling about America and the climate crisis. Like, dude, let's focus on one apple over here, man. What are we talking about here? Okay, let's just be happy that we're sending X amount of money over there, and then don't start yelling at us about climate. I mean, it seems weird to me, but it's like they're all scratching each other's back and just waiting for it to just all come back around. And it's all same 5 fingers off the same hand, basically the same palm, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. I think it does make sense. You know what else makes sense? Sub 68 taking me to a commercial right now.
You have been watching Decades, a show on the NGBN.TV network.
This is NGBN TV, a network for men and home to top experts, speakers, authors, and more.
I'm Chris Rubio of The Rubio Method.
I'm Charles Wallace of the Bear Essentials Podcast.
This is Bud from the Sports or Gibberish Podcast.
Streaming TV for men, created by men.
Hello, my name is Ian Hill, and I have the tremendous honor of being the CEO of NGBN.TV. We are so excited for you to join us on this journey, helping us build a television network for men in their 40s, 50s, and 60s.
I am NGBN.
I am NGBN.
I am NGBN.
I'm NGBN, and so are you.
Join our movement at NGBN.TV, coming January 2024.
Welcome back to Decades. Take it away, Rubio.
And I will. Obviously, we've lost the judge to his fantastic internet service. The best part is the judge is literally 30 yards away from me right now, and he has 2 pigeons rubbing together for wireless. Let's go to more email questions. Remember, you can email Rubio at therubiomethod.com or ngbntved@gmail.com. Let's see. Let's go to Bill. Bill, have you always lived in Florida?
No, I spent most of my adult life in the great state of Texas. Dallas, and born and raised in Chicago.
And then how did you get to Florida? Obviously by plane or car, but.
To make a long story short, I decided I'd kind of try to take early retirement and move from the West Coast to Florida. And I didn't really retire, but I moved to Florida.
Okay. So, Sub 68, let's go with, that was only one question. Alex, you're a beer connoisseur. What is the most you've ever paid for a beer?
For a bottle of beer at the supermarket, I think I paid like $15. It was like one of those Dutch beers made by monastery that has been in existence since like 11th century.
Jesus. Okay. More power to you. Sub 68, let's go with Chalice's meme. All right, Chalice, what do you got there? And Sub 68, is there any way to keep it kind of in the middle but not as big? Or no, I don't know what you're doing back there. But go ahead, Chalice, while Sub 68 tries that.
Yeah, I think it's a big problem in modern society is that there are people who are engaging in what I call the victim Olympics. And you have to just, no matter what's going on, no matter what you have, it always is, but I don't have all this, and it's because of this person. Anytime that there's, you know, something goes wrong in your life, well, it's not my fault. It's her fault. It's his fault. It's their fault. It's, you know, it's everyone else's fault. And that's what we push in society nowadays. And I'm in my 20s. I'm going to sound like the old man yelling at a cloud here, though, but it's a problem with how we treat kids. And it started with how we treated kids my age, you know, where it's the culture of can never tell anybody that they're bad at something. You can never tell anybody that maybe this just isn't for you. So if you're not good at something now, you have a bunch of people my age who, no matter how shit they were at anything they tried to do, you couldn't tell them that. So now if they're not successful in anything, well, it can't be that I'm just not good at it. It has to be society's fault, or it has to be that society's trying to keep me down.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where, the grass is always greener on the other side. Well, did you ever think that maybe they water their lawn? I mean, there's that. You know, I just put out a tweet recently. Deion Sanders was primetime was on an interview with 60 Minutes, and they were talking about how he came in and cleared house. 51 kids transferred. He told them basically, you're not good enough to play here. And he said that the reason why he did that is because the coaches were obviously not good enough to coach there, but who recruited the kids? Those coaches. And he said, yes, it was rude to do it, but you know, if my wards can get them out of the room, what else? That's all I needed. And they said, well, what'd you say if your kid called you and said, hey, they're telling me to transfer? He would have said, and he said, I would have told them, you're obviously not good enough to be there. That's your problem. That's not the coach's problem. Yeah. And I agree 1,000%. But it's one of those things. And I think, Bill, you have olderish kids where it started with, before your generation, Chalice, I remember my generation, probably the towards the end of my middle school year, they started doing the, what's the trophies? Not presentation. What's
participation?
Participation trophies. And I know they still try to kind of do it here. My 12-year-old got one last year for just being on the baseball team. I was like, no, you're not keeping that. Get rid of that. Why would you? Just because you're there and you're breathing.
Yeah.
Well, Bill, go ahead. What's your thoughts on this? And can you pull up the meme again for the judge who's back on? God knows how long he'll be up with us.
Hey, I did some troubleshooting.
So I agree with Chalice on this, but what I was going to say is, you know, the well-rounded liberal actually has two cards. They have the victim card, but on the back side of it, it's the virtue signaling card. Mm-hmm. And both can be played equally adept.
Okay, a double card. Judge, what's your thoughts? Now that we're back with you, we got to always hit you right out of the gate because God knows when you're gone.
Well, I'm just glad we had all the just there as tourists on January 6th. So I think those cards go both ways. You can avoid reality whether you're at the far left or the far right.
I'd agree with that. But what is your problem? What card did they pull? The moron card?
The moron card, and we didn't do anything wrong, and we were just peace-seeking tourists, and it was all Antifa.
Go ahead, Chalice.
I think I'm not going to disagree, but I think the problem that I have with January 6th is that it gets severely over dramatized, overhyped, whatever word you want to use for it. There's people who compared it to 9/11. And then if you ask why that was such a big deal, but in the summer of 2020, the mostly peaceful protests where we were lighting cities on fire were okay, then, but you can't ask that. Like, I can't ask that, but then people walking through the building on January 6th, that's 9/11 part 2.
Judge, you want to go on that?
Well, I think that's a whole different issue. I don't think any lighting the cities is right. And I don't think that the Capitol incident compared to 9/11, 9/11 wasn't done by United States citizens. And those other cities, it was not the seat of our democracy that was being challenged, or the seat of our democracy, such as free elections. There's ways to overturn elections that are bad, and storming the Capitol is not one of those ways.
Can you really say storming the Capitol, though, if the doors were open for them? I mean, yes, there was a couple broken windows, but there's hundreds of hours of footage of doors being opened. I mean, they're literally going through the velvet ropes. I mean,
you can pick whatever footage you want, but there were still people hurt. There were people injured. There were people going where they were told not to go.
Mm-hmm.
There were people making a mockery of the democratic system. I don't care how bad you think it was not right, and it was a sad day for our democracy.
Okay, Gru, what's your thoughts on this?
Well, I think January 6th people got punished more severely than people who actually were burning buildings and small businesses in 2020.
Well, there's no doubt about that. I mean, I just read San Francisco is paying reparations to BLM protesters during that thing. I think it's getting up to $5 million if you were arrested during that time. That's just the start of it. I think Philly's doing that as well. And there's a controversy where I think today Ray Epps just got like misdemeanor. What was it? Basically not breaking and entering, just civil disobedience or something. And he's the one where you can literally see him on the film over and over and over. We're going to storm the castle. We need to storm the castle. Everyone, let's storm the Capitol. I mean, not storm the castle, Jesus. We got to storm the Capitol. And he gets, nothing. I think he's going to get like maybe 30 days or just a fine, where you've got other people that weren't even there and they're getting 20 years. So there's something wrong there. I mean, you got to just put some glasses on and kind of see what's happening here, because it doesn't make sense. Bill, you were going to say something?
Well, I think I kind of agree with everybody. I mean, I think the people that entered the Capitol shouldn't have. I think, they are guilty of something, but I don't think they've been treated fairly. I think in their case, there was not a fair application of the law. I think they've been punished as political prisoners, really, not as just ordinary people that have broken the law. They were entitled to swift judgment. Some of these people were in the can for a couple of years. They've been treated horribly. Yeah. That's wrong. But they also broke the law. So I'm okay with punishment, but it needs to be delivered reasonably quickly, and it needs to be fair. And I don't think you can say that in their case.
Judge, I meant to ask you about this, since you are a judge and since you are right next door to me. What about the swift justice? Why is it taking like 3 years for some of these people to get to court? Like, why is that okay? What's happening there?
Typically, in my experience, delay is instituted more often than not by the defendants, because delay does them more good than swift prosecution. So they'll waive their right to speedy trial in the hopes that people's memories change, or people die, or people just don't want to testify or move away. So more often than not, it's a defense tactic rather than a prosecutorial tactic.
Say if this isn't a defense tactic and they're just kind of sitting there, then that something's wrong with them, right?
Yeah.
Well, they have the right to a speedy trial, so they can't just sit there without them or their attorney's approval. They have to have in Idaho, you have to have a trial 6 months within the date you're indicted, unless you waive that right. And it's similar statutes in each state and in federal courts. So unless they waive that, they would have to be tried quicker.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. This was a good discussion. And I'm going to wave goodbye to this segment as Sub 60 Ed takes us to a commercial.
You have been watching Decades, a show on the NGBN.TV network. Welcome back to Decades. Take it away, Rubio.
And I shall. Chalice, your hair looks good. You just got it in there. I saw that you did that.
Yeah.
It's also good to see the judge combing his hair, and he's still online with us. We've got 2 more email questions. Remember, you can email Rubio at therubiomethod.com or ngbntved@gmail.com. Sub 60 Ed, this question is for you. Have you worn your shirt out in public yet?
I have. I wore it to the gym about 4 or 5 days ago.
And was there any response?
Yeah, no response yet. We're waiting. We gotta lay the foundation first, and then get people seeing it and get it into a crowded area. So they say, "What's that?"
We gotta get you an airport.
Yes, and don't worry. When it happens, I will report it back here on the show. That will be
as you should. Okay,
as I should. Is that going to be? That's your tagline.
100%.
As I should.
Last email questions for me. Rubio, I saw on your other show, The Rubio Method, that you supposedly like Hallmark movies. Is that true? 1,000,000,000% it's true. I love them. I have the Hallmark app. They are fantastic. Shut up if you don't like them. I don't care. All right, let's go.
And he cries at them.
Oh,
They're emotionally, if it's an emotional story, you bet your ass I'm crying at it. There's a lot of journeys in those shows. They're great. I love them. I have no guilty pleasures, Judge, just pleasures. All right. Let's go to who we got. Bill Geiser meme. That's a good one. Even the judge is laughing. They always try not to. Bill Geiser, explain it to us, please, like we're in third grade.
Well, I might be more for a college age student who studied Hamlet. There's a line in Hamlet written by Shakespeare, which he talks about these bomb makers who blow themselves up with their own bombs. And the line is they've hoist themselves on their own petard. And I think that's what the Democrats have done in their zeal to extinguish Trump. They've kind of left themselves in kind of a compromised situation with respect to the impeachment inquiry with Biden. Now, my sense is he's not going to get impeached, but I don't think the intent here is for him to be impeached. I think the intent here is for him to be slimed, just like many of the things they did to Trump weren't meant initially to kill him, but just to slime him. And that's kind of where we are with politics these days. So the Democrats are going to scream bloody murder, and the Republicans are going to say, well, it's just our turn to give it back to you.
Gru, what's your thoughts on this?
I think nobody really wants to impeach Biden because people don't want Kamala Harris to be president.
That's actually a pretty decent point there. Judge, what are your thoughts on this? Because I can see you kind of smiling.
Well, I for once agree with Bill. I don't.
This is twice in one show.
I know. I'm getting a little worried about myself. It could be. I don't think there's any chance Biden's going to get impeached. I think it's solely a move of McCarthy to try to appease the far right wing. And I agree. I think much of the impeachment, whether it goes either way, is just showboating. And I wish they'd get back to business and pass the budget.
Yeah, no kidding. I thought it was hilarious when Chuck Schumer gets out and he's like, I can't believe they would just, and Adam Schiff said it as well, just with all these fake accusations, this is just fodder, like, we would never do this. Like, you did it for 3 years.
Yeah.
Are you crazy? You haven't been watching yourself? Charles, what's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think anyone on the left that's complaining about it now, it's just a case of rules for thee, but not for me. It's nothing new. I'm not surprised by it, but I don't think anything's going to come of it, much like everybody else on the panel. I think it's all just everyone wants to flex their muscles and show how, tough they could be if it ever came to it, but nothing will come of it.
This was a very kind of almost relaxing show, very calm. I mean, it was nice that the judge only blacked out one time. That was amazing. Yeah. You can come on. We're gonna wrap it up here under 30 minutes because this was such a tight, precise show. We had Bill and the judge agreeing twice, which is odd. The Gru didn't rage on Charlie Sheen, which is great. Okay, Chalice is showing a lot of chest hair, which that's a whole separate issue.
It's not an issue.
So Sub 68, who's the winner?
You know what? We missed out. Did you skip over Alex's?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, because I'm going to do it again. We're going to do it again next week because I've got a couple too.
Okay.
Right. Okay. No, I'm actually giving it to two people this week. I'm giving it to our two senior gentlemen for agreeing twice. For agreeing twice. Two times.
It'll never happen again.
See, but it shows you. See, no, but what it shows you, the left and the right can come together in unity and agree.
I would agree. On that note, make sure you guys have a cheers. Make sure you have a good conversation with someone who you normally won't have a conversation with, and learn to agree to disagree. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Thanks for watching Decades on the NGBN.TV network. Be sure to spread the word, and don't forget to subscribe, like, or follow on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook.